It's a snowy Sunday evening here in Korea. Thank you for joining us for this edition of Arirang News. I'm Daniel Choy. The United States says North Korea should take responsibility for the recent cyber attack on Sony Pictures, which resulted in the cancellation of the studio's Christmas Day release of a rather controversial film. Our Connie Kim starts us off.
The United States says that North Korea is responsible for a recent cyber attack on Sony Pictures, backing the FBI's assessment of the case. U.S. National Security spokesman Mark Stroh said that Washington is confident Pyongyang is responsible for what he said was a destructive attack. Stroh added that if the North wants to help, the regime should admit their culpability and compensate Sony for the damages the attack has caused. North Korea has denied involvement in the cyber attack on Sony Pictures, which led the studio to cancel the release of The Interview, a comedy about an assassination plot on North Korean leader Kim Jong-un. The North, which had previously proposed a joint investigation with the U.S., released its response Saturday through its state news agency.
If the U.S. refuses to accept our proposal for a joint investigation and continues to talk about some kind of response by dragging us into the case, it must remember there will be grave consequences.
President Barack Obama had vowed a U.S. response to the cyber attack during his year-end press conference on Friday, saying the regime could find itself even more isolated in the international community. A senior White House official told the Wall Street Journal the following day that relisting Pyongyang as a state sponsor of terrorism is one of the options Washington is reviewing. The Bush administration removed the North from the list in 2008 to bring about progress in denuclearization talks. Now, if Washington were to put Pyongyang back on the list, ties between the two countries could suffer. But with the North already facing economic and trade sanctions, there are concerns that the gesture would largely be symbolic. Connie Kim, Arirang News.
The U.S. is reportedly working with other countries, including Russia, to get things moving on the North Korea nuclear issue. An official from the State Department said Washington is persuading or pressuring its allies and Russia to mediate possible security threats posed by North Korea's nuclear and ballistic missile programs. Some experts say the State Department's comments reflect the U.S. hope that an upcoming possible summit between Russia and North Korea will focus on Pyongyang's nuclear and missile programs. Russia confirmed last week that President Vladimir Putin wants the North Korean leader to visit the Kremlin to mark the 70th anniversary of the end of World War II. Korea's presidential jet will be fitted with anti-missile gear by the year 2016. That would cost some $27 million apparently. According to a military official on Sunday, the presidential jet will be equipped with a missile approach warning system and a device designed to confuse a missile's infrared guidance system so that it misses its target. Korea's Arms Procurement Agency will soon take steps to select the manufacturer for the missile defense systems and will purchase the equipment under a government-to-government deal with the U.S. The jet will be on the lease to the presidential office until 2020 under a contract renewed with Korean Air last October. More and more Korean investors are opting to sink their money into gold, now seen as a safe bet. The looming economic uncertainty is brought on by a drop in global oil prices and the ruble's free fall. Korean investors are turning to safer assets, including gold savings and bonds. According to the Korea Gold Exchange, sales of gold bars are rising. More than 160 kilograms of gold bars have been sold so far this month already. That surpasses the previous month's record of 137, and if the pace continues, we may break the monthly sales record of 250 kilograms. The Korean government is seeking to bring about greater social cohesion, but to achieve its goal, it may first have to change the atmosphere within Korean politics. Our Kim Jong-un tells us more.
A majority of Koreans think political bickering is what incites social conflict, according to a new survey released Sunday by the Presidential Committee for National Cohesion. 54% of respondents said lawmakers are more focused on informing constituents about their party's platform and ideology than they are on legislative affairs. They said political standoffs only hinder the passage of urgent livelihood bills and thousands of other draft bills awaiting review in the National Assembly. The other factors they cited as contributing to social conflict were the gap between rich and poor at 43%, individualism at 35%, and overly sensational news coverage by the media at 32%. A majority of respondents, or 78%, said class is the biggest source of social conflict, followed by ideological conflicts, labor and management conflicts, and regional conflicts. The survey notes that despite the many conflicts embedded in Korean society, hard work will be rewarded, indicating that there are opportunities for those who make an effort. The committee said the survey, conducted with 2,000 respondents, was carried out in order to assess the state of lingering social problems in Korean society, so that plans for improving social cohesion could be devised. Kim Jong-un, Arirang News.
Elsewhere around the world, a gunman has fatally shot 2 New York police officers who were sitting in their squad cars and then killed himself. The shooter has been identified as 28-year-old Ismail Brinsley. According to New York Police Department Commissioner Bill Bratton, Brinsley is believed to be a member of a notorious prison gang called the Black Guerrilla Family. That gang spread word through social media that they were preparing to shoot on-duty police officers after a Staten Island grand jury decided not to indict a New York Police Department officer in the chokehold death of Eric Garner. Brinsley also shot his former girlfriend in her home outside of Baltimore before traveling to New York. Clearly a very disturbed individual, that is. Moving on to other stories, Russian President Vladimir Putin remains unshakable in the face of a recent currency crisis, conflict in Ukraine, and strong sanctions by the West. According to Itar TASS, the Russian leader said Saturday, no one has, nor will succeed in intimidating or isolating Russia. Speaking at a gala marking the Day of Security Service Officers, Putin rallied his people, saying they must be ready to go through certain difficulties and to give an adequate answer to any threats to the sovereignty, stability, and unity of their society. This comes just days after Putin's annual end-of-year news conference on Thursday, in which he expressed confidence in the security of his position, even as Russia is grappling with the collapse of its currency. It looks like Russia can expect China to catch it when it falls economically. Long Yong-tu, former deputy minister of foreign trade and economic cooperation, said at a forum in Beijing on Friday that China is not likely to simply sit by and watch if Russia's economy collapses as a result of the serious depreciation of its currency. According to the China News Service, Long said that when Russia is facing massive difficulties, China can be relied on for moral strength and economic support. Long, the current Secretary General of the annual Boao Forum for Asia, went on to say that Beijing is obligated to help its northern neighbor both from a strategic perspective and out of concern for the well-being of the Russian people, but did not elaborate on any specific measures for aid. Most people in Korea retire in their early 60s, leaving them ample time to enjoy their golden years. But many struggle with ways to fulfill the day, rather. The IT sector actually has opened up new opportunities for them, and companies are taking notice. Our Son Jung-in has this story.
At the social venture firm, 68-year-old Kim Yoon-tae checks the video contents posted on websites and blogs one by one. Making use of his 35 years of experience as a teacher, he monitors and erases videos or photos that could have a negative impact on children and teens.
It's quite a fulfilling job. I feel rewarded to know that I am keeping the digital world safe for the young.
Over 300 older workers like Kim are in charge of filtering contents at the company. Portal site Naver, which entrusted them with the task, has been so satisfied with the results that they plan to increase the workforce to 500.
They are committed to their work and give their all. The work atmosphere is also great because they are all gratified by what they are doing, and their performance is outstanding.
With a pomegranate placed in the center of the table, this retiree is busy drawing a still life painting using his iPad. Jong Byung-gil, who retired after working for over 30 years at a bank, has become an iPad painter with the help of a community program that helps the elderly get back on their feet. Jung is now leading an active social life and even held his first ever iPad art exhibition.
This field is new for many of my age, but it is gaining attention. I am just happy to have found something to do in life.
The expansion of social networks and information and communications technology is helping retirees find new challenges so they can open a new and fulfilling chapter in their lives. Paul Yi, Arirang News.
Well, that was our Paul Yi and Son Jung-in reporting on that story. Thank you for that, Paul. Moving on to weather this time. Snow will stop falling in most parts of the nation on Monday morning, but drivers and pedestrians are advised to be extra careful out there as roads and pavements are expected to remain icy and slippery. On the bright side, it will get a little warmer, still staying under the sub-zero temperatures, but about -8 degrees in Seoul, I believe. So I guess we can afford to dress a little less thick on Monday. And now let's check out the weather conditions in other parts of our world. And that brings us to the end of this newscast, but we do have more updates coming up at 10 p.m. Korea time, so do join us then. Thank you for watching.